Cristiano Ronaldo heading to Inter Miami? Messi himself gave the green light for this blockbuster move. Salah is finally ready to pack his bags. But where's the Egyptian king going? Real Madrid have set their sights on Tottenham's star defender. Rúben Amorim back to Benfica to take Mourinho's seat? And Saudi Arabia is throwing serious money at Harry Kane. Will he bite? All this and much more in today's episode. Slam that like button and let's dive into the maddest transfer rumors right now. Rúben Amorim could be heading back to Portugal to hit the reset button on his coaching career. Rumor has ELLIOT lined up to replace Jose Mourinho at Benfica this summer. Amorim has been out of work since January, after that dismal run of results got him the sack at Man United. But according to ESPN, he could be back on the touchline very soon. Here's the situation. Benfica's current boss, Jose Mourinho, is expected to take the Portugal national team job after the World Cup. The federation is dead set on hiring him once Roberto Martinez's contract expires. Let's be honest, there are too many questions around Martinez, and the fact that he isn't Portuguese plays a big part. It was always obvious Mourinho would eventually lead his home country. Frankly, it's surprising the special one didn't make the switch sooner. Maybe he could have saved himself the trouble at Spurs, Roma, and Fenerbahce and left club football to the younger generation. But the call of the homeland is strong, and Amorim is the leading candidate to fill his shoes at Benfica. This is where it gets spicy. Rúben made his name managing Benfica's fierce rivals, Sporting. Yet, he spent 9 years at Benfica as a player and is still held in high regard by the board at the Estadio da Luz. However, we can't ignore the elephant in the room. Amorim's reputation took a massive hit after his failure in Manchester. He went from Europe's golden boy to a manager who needs to rebuild his career away from the spotlight. His lack of tactical flexibility is a major red flag. His stubborn insistence on the 3-4-2-1 formation cost him his job at Old Trafford. The fact that United immediately improved after switching back to a back four only proved that his rigidity was hurting the team. Now he has a chance to prove everyone wrong. But in the comfort zone of his home league, an entire era at Real Madrid is nearing its end, and honestly, it looks perfectly logical. Dani Carvajal, the man who owned the right flank for years and won one Champions League trophy after another, is entering the final and rather painful chapter of his time with the club. The situation is clear-cut, his contract is almost up, there's absolutely no certainty, and everything points toward a parting of ways. What bothers Dani most right now isn't his age or injuries, but his role in Álvaro Arbeloa's team. We all got used to seeing Carvajal as a leader and an essential piece of the system, yet the truth is the head coach is increasingly leaving the veteran out of the matchday squad. It makes sense that the club is pivoting to a younger team, but Dani himself is clearly not willing to accept the role of a senior figure just warming the bench. He feels he can still compete at the very top, and that frustration grows with each passing week. When a player of that stature sees his contract running out while the club makes no effort to extend it, that's a clear signal. At Real Madrid, pragmatism has always ranked above sentiment. The decision-makers have decided Carvajal belongs to a celebrated past, not the future. So who is the future? According to Fichajes, Los Blancos are seriously pursuing Pedro Porro from Tottenham. At first glance, the right-back position at Madrid seems locked down, considering Trent Alexander-Arnold joined last summer. Why spend big money on yet another top-tier fullback? First off, Pedro Porro is 26 right at the peak of his career. He's no longer the unpolished youngster who tried to find a foothold at Man City. At Tottenham, he's grown into one of the best in his position. Nearly 150 top-level appearances, outstanding intensity, and, crucially for Real Madrid, a Spanish passport. The club loves preserving a national core, and Porro fits that perfectly. Secondly, consider the price tag. Spurs paid 45 million euros for him. They won't sell a key player for less than 60 or 70 million, especially with Bayern Munich circling. But for Real Madrid, this is a solid investment. If Carvajal goes, the team needs a performer, not a placeholder. You might ask, how do you split minutes between Trent and Porro? The answer is simple: competition and versatility. We know Trent can play further forward or drift into midfield, while Porro is a classic, modern, wide-running fullback. Having two players of that quality isn't overkill, it's exactly what Real Madrid's European ambitions demand. The Spanish giants have been tracking Porro for quite a while, and now the stars are aligning. Carvajal is unhappy and physically declining. His contract is expiring, and there's a ready-made star on the market who'd likely love a return to Spain. This isn't a gamble, it's replacing a legend with a proven master. Of course, it'll hurt fans to see Dani in another shirt. But let's be realistic. Real Madrid cannot justify keeping an unhappy veteran on high wages if he can't handle the intensity Arbeloa requires. If the Porro deal goes through, mark it down as yet another masterclass in squad building by Florentino Perez. Al-Ittihad are officially launching a fresh round of talks over Mohamed Salah. The Egyptian's future has been the central talking point for months, and now concrete details are finally taking shape. Despite his recent contract renewal at Anfield, the atmosphere at the club has heated up. Salah's relationship with Liverpool and with Arne Slot personally has clearly deteriorated this season. Saudi Arabia has been chasing Salah for years. For them, Mo is not just a top-level player, he is the leading Muslim footballer in the world, the ideal shop window for the league. According to Foot Mercado, Al-Ittihad representatives are already in full contact with the players' camp to arrange a transfer next summer. And honestly, the chances of it happening are far greater now than they were a year ago. Guys, let's take a quick break. Make sure to smash that like button. Every reaction counts. Thanks for the support, it really helps the channel. Now, for some context, Salah has been at Liverpool since 2017. The Reds paid what now seems a modest 39 million euros for him. Since then, the 33-year-old striker has only grown, becoming the undisputed leader and collecting every available trophy. He has cemented his place in history as one of the greatest to ever wear the shirt. Last season, the Egyptian had an outstanding campaign, but the contract uncertainty put pressure on the club. Back then, the Saudis were offering staggering fees, yet Mo chose Anfield, putting pen to paper on a new 2-year deal. The issue appeared resolved, but this season has shattered that calm. Liverpool have been in turmoil, results have been uneven, and Salah himself is well below his best. The conflict with Arne Slot poured fuel on the fire, reaching the point where Mo found himself on the bench. For Liverpool, selling Salah is now a structural decision rather than an emotional one. Yes, he is a legend, but his influence on the pitch has swung too sharply during this troubled season. The breaking point came in December. That was when the tension, the kind elite clubs usually keep hidden, surfaced openly. Salah started thinking seriously about leaving, and while he reclaimed his starting spot after the Africa Cup of Nations and is being professional, the resentment hasn't disappeared. In January, he didn't force a move, choosing to play out the season, but a summer switch to Jeddah now looks like the most likely scenario. Honestly, all parties stand to benefit. Liverpool would get a solid fee for an aging player, and Mohamed would get to choose the terms of his exit with dignity. As for Al-Ittihad, they desperately need a new figurehead. Following Karim Benzema's departure, the squad lacks attacking quality and, crucially, media weight. Salah is meant to be the new face of the project. They are preparing a contract that's impossible to refuse. Unlike in European football, where Salah is expected to grind through Arne Slot's pressing system, Saudi Arabia offers him the status of an untouchable star. Tottenham are giving us yet another masterclass in how to waste money. Last summer, the club handed Brentford a hefty £6.7 million to bring in Thomas Frank. On paper, it looked like a bet on long-term growth, but here we are. The head coach has been fired after just 8 months. Tottenham's hopes have crashed into harsh reality, and the price will be steep. The Dane signed a 3-year deal, meaning his early exit likely cost Spurs several million more in payouts. Basically, they paid a fortune to get him through the door, and are now paying again to show him out, with only 2 wins from 17 Premier League games to show for it. Right now, the team sits 16th, hovering just 5 points above the drop zone. Vinay Venkatesham and sporting director Johan Lang now have a tough call to make. In reality, there are 2 paths. Path 1, the caretaker. John Heitinga could fill that role. He arrived in January as Frank's assistant and is already embedded in the setup. Going temporary buys the club time until summer when the heavy hitters become available, specifically Mauricio Pochettino and Andoni Iraola. Pochettino's situation is clear. He's fully locked in with the US national team for the home World Cup. There is 0 chance of him walking away before the tournament. Iraola is similar. He's tied down at Bournemouth until the season ends. Remember, Spurs looked at him last summer, but he made it plain he wasn't moving. Path 2. A permanent boss, right now. This is where Roberto De Zerbi enters the picture. The Italian has just left Marseille and he is ready to start immediately. He brings successful Premier League experience from Brighton and plays that open, attacking football Spurs fans crave. De Zerbi sees Tottenham as a natural next step. True, Manchester United have shortlisted him too, calling him a tactical genius, but Tottenham hold the cards. They can move fast while their rivals are still just looking. Given the league table and the millions already flushed down the drain, the Spurs board absolutely cannot afford to wait. Manchester City have identified a priority target for the summer window: Nottingham Forest midfielder Elliot Anderson. The midfielder is enjoying a truly outstanding season with Forest, and as Team Talk reports, City are ready to table a major offer for the player very soon. Let's look at why he's the one. It's well known that in recent seasons, Pep Guardiola's team have been critically reliant on Rodri. The Spaniard is the unchallenged starting defensive midfielder, and when he's absent, City start to struggle. The club are in urgent need of depth in that area and genuine quality. Anderson is viewed by scouts as the right candidate. For one, he's a young player at just 23, yet he already shows serious potential. Those at the Etihad believe he can grow into a central figure in the squad. What's crucial for Pep's system is versatility. Since arriving at the City ground, Elliott has developed into a dependable and very energetic midfielder. He is known for his massive work rate. Anderson is comfortable operating higher up the pitch in a creative capacity and equally effective sitting deeper to shield the back line. City are impressed with how he performs across multiple positions. The club see him as someone who can be phased with how he performs across multiple positions. The club see him as someone who can be phased into the team gradually, first as a valuable rotation player and in time shaped into a top-level footballer able to handle the complex positional discipline and technical standards Guardiola demands. One more significant plus is adaptation. Anderson already delivers consistently at a high level in the Premier League. Unlike overseas signings, he wouldn't need an extended period to adjust to the speed of the league, making him a considerably more appealing choice than the alternatives. For the 23-year-old Englishman, a move to Manchester City looks highly enticing. It is one of the strongest clubs in the country, challenging for major trophies every season. Turning down the opportunity to join a project of that caliber, to play regularly in the Champions League and fight for titles, would be incredibly hard. That said, City shouldn't be too relaxed about this. Manchester United are also monitoring Anderson's progress very closely. Old Trafford has its own issues. The club need to find a long-term successor to Casemiro as a matter of urgency. The Brazilian has decided to depart at the end of the season, and finding a quality replacement is critical. Anderson could prove to be a strong option for the Red Devils. Both Manchester clubs represent appealing destinations and both have the financial muscle to put together an attractive proposal this summer. Now for the main question, can a deal be struck with Nottingham? Forest do not intend to part with their standout player without a fight. The club will clearly demand a very significant fee for Anderson. Whether City or United can come up with a figure the Nottingham board will accept remains to be seen. And one last point, an important factor that could shape the outcome of this deal. Manchester City's interest is heavily tied to the future of the head coach. Will Pep Guardiola stay at the helm beyond the current campaign? The Catalans' future is a regular subject of speculation. It is anticipated that any decisions on transfers of this scale will be directly linked to clarity around the coaching setup. If Pep departs, the transfer strategy may well shift, but as things stand, Anderson remains one of the top priority targets. Saudi clubs are once again pursuing top talent. Their main target this time around is Harry Kane. As reported by Kicker, two Saudi Pro League sides, Al-Ahli and Al-Ittihad, are desperate to land the England captain during the summer transfer window. The contract situation around him has turned out to be far more intriguing than initially thought. Officially, his agreement with Bayern is set to run until 2027, but the report suggests that Kane may have a release clause built in, and the fee, to put it plainly, is reachable for this caliber of player, 70 million euros at most. Previously, it was assumed this option would expire in January, but updated information indicates the end of February. There is a catch though. To activate the clause, Harry would need to inform the Munich leadership ahead of time about his desire to leave. The grounds for interest are strong. Kane is producing an outstanding season. He has scored 24 goals in just 21 Bundesliga matches. Taking all competitions together, the figures are truly exceptional. 45 goals and 9 assists across 40 games. The Saudi hierarchy is monitoring developments, but they are not alone. Representatives from Premier League clubs have already made contact with the strikers' camp, though no particular club names have come to light yet. A move back to Tottenham, by all indications, is essentially off the table. Given the London club's poor showings in recent seasons, that path looks unrealistic. Bayern themselves remain perfectly composed. Those at the Allianz Arena appreciate Kane's value, but can also see that the player is entirely happy. He has brought his family over to Germany, feels settled, and enjoys his day-to-day life in Munich. The player himself keeps reiterating that he is content. For that reason, the board is confident he will sign an extension, and a swift exit from the club appears doubtful. There is mutual appreciation on both sides. Kane, for his part, is not expected to make any calls on his future until the World Cup, and as of now, it is totally unclear whether he would even entertain the idea of relocating to the Middle East at a time when everything is going so well for him in Europe. David Beckham is set to engineer a deal that would definitively make MLS the world's leading league in media reach. As the Daily Star reports, the Inter Miami owner is determined to bring Cristiano Ronaldo from Al Nassr to Florida. But what makes this truly interesting isn't the sentimental reunion angle, it's the cold pragmatics behind it. This move is being discussed against the background of very real issues the Portuguese star faces in Saudi Arabia. Cristiano's future at Al Nassr is in serious doubt. Ronaldo sat out the team's last 2 league fixtures, and by all accounts, it's not just about physical condition. Insiders report direct dissatisfaction with the level of financial backing the club gets. The Portuguese believes they're simply not investing enough. His contract is close to expiring, and the 41-year-old forward has already instructed his agents to work on a transfer to Inter Miami. He personally wants to play beside Messi as his career winds down. The comparison between the two legends is also a factor. Since his move to Miami in 2023, Lionel Messi has radically transformed the club and brought unexpected trophies. Ronaldo joined Al Nassr the same year, but hasn't managed to win any significant silverware. So where would Inter Miami get the money for 2 of the most expensive contracts in history? Let's look at the economics. The Herons are growing wealthier month by month. In the past year alone, Inter Miami's value has risen by a striking 22%. The club is now worth close to $1.5 billion. It's a historic milestone. Miami is now the most valuable club in MLS, displacing LAFC from the top spot. Beckham treats football as a global show, and financially speaking, he's absolutely right. He already won over Messi, and bringing in Ronaldo would be the finishing touch. Naturally, signing Cristiano is complicated, but there's a key detail. Sergio Busquets' departure will considerably lighten the payroll and smooth the path. On top of that, the league's solidarity mechanism kicks in. MLS sponsors and other clubs will almost certainly agree to financial concessions to make this happen. And the right word for that isn't sacrifice, it's a straightforward investment. Speaking of investment, why not invest 1 second of your time in that subscribe button? Seriously guys, you watch me more than I see my own family, but you won't hit subscribe. If I earned what Ronaldo earns for every unsubscribed view, I'd have already bought Inter Miami myself. Sort it out. Everyone gets it. If Beckham brings the 2 greatest players of a generation together, absolutely everyone benefits, and the league's global appeal shoots through the roof. Inter Miami would gain the most, becoming the first club in history where these legendary rivals put on the same shirt. It'll be fascinating to see whether they can work together on the pitch, but from a business standpoint, it's a guaranteed win. Intense discussions are underway regarding Nico Schlotterbeck's future. This season, the German defender has become a pivotal part of Niko Kovac's plans, providing a firm foundation in Borussia Dortmund's defense. But he is set to enter the last year of his contract next season, and that is causing concern within the club. Negotiations have dragged on for months, yet the player himself has shown no urgency to commit. Schlotterbeck is looking for assurances. He wants certainty that Dortmund will be a genuine contender for the biggest goals, not simply content with qualifying for the Champions League. Per Bild, clarity will come very shortly. The 26-year-old is due to make his final decision about staying at Signal Iduna Park by the middle of March. There are just 2 paths available: stay in Dortmund or move to Madrid. Real Madrid are the only side to have demonstrated concrete intent. The Spanish giants are staring down severe difficulties in their defensive ranks. Come the summer, Madrid faced the prospect of losing 2 key defenders at once, Antonio Rudiger and David Alaba. And when you account for the fact that Eder Militao is plagued by injuries far too often, the case for reinforcement becomes urgent. The club sees Schlotterbeck as one of their leading options for resolving the defensive issues before next campaign. On paper, Nico is a center back, but his capabilities go considerably further. He is notable for an outstanding ability to read play and never backs down from tough tackles. Beyond that, Schlotterbeck frequently arrives in the opposition penalty area during set pieces, presenting a real danger at goal. His existing contract, running through June 2027, includes a release clause worth €60 million. One interesting wrinkle: that number could decrease to $50 million if Dortmund somehow miss out on Champions League qualification. To be fair, right now that looks unlikely. At one point, Bayern Munich had entered the conversation. The Munich club had been exploring a possible approach for Schlotterbeck due to the unclear situation with Dayot Upamecano. But things in Munich have now calmed down. Upamecano, by all appearances, is remaining, so Bayern are not expected to act on their interest. That positions Real Madrid as the overwhelming favorite to land the German. Still, there is one key factor to note. It is understood that Madrid will only commit to final transfer moves after deciding on a head coach for next season. As long as there is no certainty about the manager, spending will not proceed. The 2 clubs are operating in tandem. Both Borussia and Real have set a sort of ultimatum for the player. The deadline is strict, falling in March. That is when Nico needs to declare whether he plans to stay at BVB or is open to making the move to Spain. Sources close to the talks say that the exchanges between all sides have been respectful and productive. But the pressure is real. If Real do not bring in Schlotterbeck or another seasoned center back, They risk entering the new season without sufficient resources to compete for titles in La Liga and in European competition.